All right, I think we're live.
Awesome.
Great.
This is wild. Okay, here we go. Everybody, welcome to a special live edition of the Manufacturing Connector. That's live. We are simply 2 weeks away from the Industrial Marketing Summit, where some of the best minds in industrial marketing will come together to share ideas, strategies, and insights. Today, I have the absolute privilege to meet and sit down virtually with two of this year's speakers, not to just talk about their sessions, but to get to know them and the experiences that have shaped those approaches to marketing. Join me are Jenni Gritti Probst and Craig Coffey, two storytellers and strategists who know what it takes to build meaningful connections between brands and their customers. First, we've got Jenni Gritti Probst, who has spent her career translating complex ideas into compelling campaigns. From Fortune 100 boardrooms to grassroots nonprofits, she's built digital strategies, produced events, and led customer-focused initiatives that truly drive action. She's all about customer experience, journey mapping, and creating content that resonates, which is exactly what she's going to be talking about in Austin. We also have Craig Coffey. He's a B2B marketing veteran with experience in some of the biggest industrial brands out there. His passion, from what I hear, it's truly finding and telling the right stories. The ones that not only educate, but also build lasting relationships with customers. At IMS, he'll be diving into the balance between content and collateral and how industrial marketers can create assets that truly move the needle. We're going to hear some stories this morning, learn how they got into this space, and get a sneak peek at what they'll be sharing in Austin. If you're in industrial marketing or just simply curious about how brands can connect more authentically, this is a conversation I'm so happy you're joining us for. Let's get started. Craig, Jenni, first of all, welcome to the Manufacturing Connector. Again, this is the first time I've ever done this, so this is super exciting for me, and thanks for being part of this first experience.
Well, thanks for having us.
My first LinkedIn Live. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with a little background on you both. Craig, let's start with you just because that's where you are on my screen. What led you to the world of industrial marketing? Was this your plan all along, or did you find your way here unexpectedly?
So I was an English major in college, so I was basically majoring in unemployment. And I found industrial marketing through my very first job. I think a lot of marketers find their very first job in marketing and sales and then decide that they don't want to be in sales, and so they look into marketing. My very first job out of college, I worked for a company called Samsel Supply, which was the company that cleaned up the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland when it was on fire.
Oh,
so
wow.
I wasn't there when it happened, but that was the history of that company. So that was my first marketing job. Yeah. So
okay.
And I have I'm in Cleveland. Should probably mention that. So go Browns. Maybe next year. The other thing Browns fans always say.
Isn't that kind of your mantra as a Browns fan?
Yeah. Maybe next year. Let's get back this year. That'll be a great idea. Where was I? Has spent my career in Cleveland with very minor deflections to a couple other places. I currently work for Eaton Corporation. Spent some time with Lincoln Electric, Parker Hannifin, a company called Wiley Publishing, which does a lot of publishing and engineering and manufacturing. So it's a little bit about me.
I've got some Wiley books right back here.
There you go.
Doesn't Lencioni do all the Wiley? Yeah. All right. Jenni, your turn. What led you here? And was this an accident for you, or is this like an intentional career pathway for you?
Well, it's a bit of both. I remember I was 8 years old on the computer in the computer room, making marketing cards. So like my business card, and I was like my marketing organization. I was 8 years old. I was a old soul, as they called them. But no, I had what I would self-describe as a very weird background, and I love it, and I would not change a thing about it. I started out in Austin, actually, so I'm excited to go back to my old stomping grounds. I'm currently in Michigan, Craig. So, he's fighting words now.
Oh, blue. Still a Michigan fan.
Well, yeah. So I started out in putting on music festivals, essentially South by Southwest showcases and other events for mostly friends, and helping them raise money through crowdfunding campaigns and doing PR for them, etc. That blossomed into a job in PR at a boutique firm in Austin. It's no longer around, but we worked a lot with nonprofits and government agencies. That then kind of transitioned into another kind of marketing role, and again, still dealing with a lot of nonprofits, government red tape. I was starting to kind of outgrow those positions, and I started looking around and looking for a challenge. And Caterpillar had this job description, and it was like written for me because it had all these disparate kind of tangentials being all brought together that I had experience in, and I just couldn't believe it, and applied to the job, and definitely walked out of that interview thinking there was no chance I was getting a job at this place. Right. And 6 years later, here I am, content marketing, CX strategist. Wouldn't change a thing about all my experiences that have led me here, and have really led me kind of pull from those different perspectives and bring a new approach to sometimes that can be a very black and white world, right? So
Absolutely. So Jenni and Craig, I apologize. I heard a lot of industrial marketing in your background, and you can obviously add anything to Jenni's answer. But Jenni, what is one thing that specifically jumps out or is unique about industrial marketing versus some of those other industries? I mean, music festivals, South by Southwest, like
Ooh.
that's a big deal, right? So what is there anything unique that is novel to this industry?
it's very niche, right? So it's very much about, and this is why I say this all the time, is knowing your audience and working your way back, right? It is just so very important to understand who you're trying to reach, because you're right, South by Southwest, those big things, right? It's very broad, right? In this world, right, we have, let's just say, a small pool of people that we can sell to. And so it's all about knowing those nuances between those kinds of folks, and really, like I said, just digging down deep, understanding who those customers are, what motivates them, what keeps them up at night, and what gets them out of the bed in the morning, and being able to take that and distill it, and then turn it into something really creative and engaging that provides them, the knowledge or the experience or expertise that they're looking for.
Awesome. Craig,
So
anything to add?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention, actually, I spent 7 years working for a cat dealer. So I'm very familiar with the evolution of Caterpillar's approach to marketing.
Wow.
And I'll say one of the things that they've done a really good job of, which I think is maybe a miss on some at some organizations that are trying to learn how to do content marketing specifically better, is thinking about their customers as people and not numbers, and thinking through how to not just play the dollars and cents game, but to play the, we got to inspire people. You got to make people feel like what they're buying is important, what they're doing is important. I think Caterpillar's done a fantastic job doing that over the years. I think the last several years, they've really, really upped their content game and given a lot of industrial marketers something to think about. And going back to the original question about what's, the contrast between, some of the more B2C stuff and the industrial stuff that we're doing is, I find so much inspiration in what they're doing. I think if people are just looking around at the industrial marketers that they know, or even worse, that they compete with, and are just looking to that for their inspiration, they're going to end up kind of flat-footed. One of the things I want to bring across in my presentation is there are so many good ideas to literally steal from people who are not in your space, who maybe on the B2C side of things, and if it's working for them, they've kind of proved the merits of it already. So copy their playbooks, get to know them. I mean, these kinds of in-person events like Industrial Marketing Summit have been such an inspiration for me, because I get to meet people who have different experiences that I do, and they become lifelong friends and people I tap into when I need to get those creative juices flowing. And that's the magic of it.
I love that. And let's definitely touch on that in a minute. But you brought up something, Craig, that I want to jump on right now. And that's, using examples of what works in other industries and other types of businesses. What's one project or campaign that really stands out to you, both of you, as one that has worked really well and it's marketing done right?
One that I've participated in, or just one that
You
I
can
know.
toot your own horn, Craig,
I'm gonna toot my own
one
horn.
that you. Yeah, so
Go ahead, Jen.
I am all about tooting. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. One thing that I'm recently doing, we're doing a series called Component Moment, and I will tell you, I begged, borrowed, and stealed from this old house. 100%, right? I mean, that is how I pitched it, and that is how I get people to kind of. Right? Is it not the best? And so I, took that approach, right, from a completely different, well, okay, let's say not completely different, right, but in an adjacent world, right, and said, how can we apply this here? And how can we do this in a way that resonates with our customers, answers the questions that they need, and also helps, fulfill a business purpose, right? And so we're doing that through a series of videos that really kind of just gives people an inside look with two very seasoned experts. Between them have 50 years of experience out in the field fixing these things, right? And it's like you're having a conversation with them. It's like you're standing right next to them while they're looking at an engine and saying, hey, hey, by the way, about this thing, right? And here's how we can help you get the most out of your engine, right? And it's really not about, to Craig's point, right, a money grab play or anything like that. It is really, truly, how can we educate our audience to give them the solutions that they've been asking for and needing, right? And so we're doing that through that Component Moment series. So
I love it. That's great. How about you, Craig?
In a super engaging way. And so my eyes really, really opened to content marketing and the value of it versus traditional industrial marketing approach way, way back, probably in the first or second content marketing world that was held in Cleveland. And I was doing research on I was struggling with what's the big difference here? And this is not my own project, but it was a video that was running on YouTube that was about a kid who just got a cochlear implant in his ear and he heard his parents' voice for the first time. I'm actually welling up thinking about this. I mean, so you going back to Jenni, your approach to making that simple idea of what a cochlear implant does accessible because it's engaging, it tugs at the heartstrings. It's a different way to approach, because you could have just released a book about engine parts if you wanted, and it could have been engaging to some part of the audience, but it wouldn't have led people down a new path or a different way of thinking. It wasn't also bite-sized. So I think that's when I think about how to distill content marketing versus other traditional forms of marketing, that's where I think content marketing is becoming more traditional, but that's always the thing that I think about.
Yeah, awesome. Jenni, your session at IMS is all about the journey mapping for customers, right? And that's such a critical concept for industrial brands. It really is. But I think a lot of companies make mistakes with that. So what is some of the biggest mistakes you've seen when it comes to companies trying to understand their customers?
The biggest mistake that I have seen is that you still take that company perspective, right? And it is so ingrained into us, and it is, no fault of our own, right? We've grown up this way. We've been trained to kind of take that customer or company perspective and kind of put it out in the world and hope that the customer bites, right? And so in these journey mapping workshops, that is a very hard thing to leave at the door. Like our paychecks, are signed by the company. We want to perform. It's very understandable, right? But when we go into these workshops, we have to truly take the understanding and perspective of the customer and leave those assumptions at the door and look at what the data is telling us, right? Because the data doesn't lie. And when we validate these things with our customers, that's the ultimate kind of final stamp of approval here, right? And so, yeah, ultimately, it really does come to almost having a blank slate when you walk into these kinds of sessions, right, in these rooms, and taking that data and understanding that voice of customer, distilling it into a persona, understanding what that job to be done is, or that goal of that persona is to do, and really putting yourself in their shoes, right? And I think that is a very real struggle. But it there's ways to overcome that, and I'll talk about that a little bit in my session as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't want you to give away any of the secret sauce that you'll be covering in 2 weeks. But I think that was a great overview of what people can expect from your session. So thanks for that. Craig, you're covering the contrast, or the balance, I guess is a better word, between content and collateral. My question to you is, why do you think so many industrial marketers struggle with the distinction here? And without giving away the secret sauce, how can companies get it right, or do you want to save that for 2 weeks from now?
No, I don't. I don't think it's about getting it right. I think it's very similar to the journey mapping side of things. It's about what your goals are, and I think ultimately content marketing's goal is to create and engage an audience, and bring them through the funnel. If the funnel is the thing that you guys believe in, but always have issues with the funnel.
Flywheel.
But
I like flywheel better. I like that, Jenny.
The reason I kind of pitched this concept is because over the years, as content marketing has become more of a popular term, I've heard less and less people using it correctly or using it interchangeably with the word collateral. I think that both have their job to do, but both have different goals and different positions along the buyer journey.
Yeah,
so
I love
think
that.
that's what I'm looking to explore, and then to try and just kind of look at some of the, like I mentioned before, some of those outside of our own industrial marketing kind of people who are doing it great, and hoping to bring some of that forward.
Craig, what's a big takeaway that you want people to grab from your session at IMS?
Oh boy, for the people who are really kind of stuck in that mode where all they're working on is collateral, and maybe don't have buy-in at their organizations that content marketing is the right effort. And I'll say, just as a side note, I think one of the biggest hindrances to content marketing's effectiveness in some industrial organizations is because we tie it to this idea of storytelling. It's storytelling. Just I know it's in my bio. I believe in it. My experience has been, it just sounds like such a soft term when you're in industrial marketing that you kind of lose this. Whoever the top marketing person is in the organization probably is more likely connected into the sales organization, just traditionally in an industrial marketing organization. And when we lose that, I mean, there's better ways to frame it. Finding your product's narrative. I mean, like there's just different ways to frame it up so it doesn't sound so soft and intangible or squishy. So helping these organizations sell the idea of content marketing into their organization as a longer term play. It's not a short play. These aren't necessarily campaign driven things. Things like advertising is not necessarily content marketing. There's times when it can be. There's also times when collateral can be really good content marketing. And what I think, I'll even give you one of my favorite examples. I love I'm an older dude, so I used to get the Patagonia catalog on a routine basis. Yeah. Some of the best content marketing I've ever seen came out of the Patagonia catalog, where you just wanted to be that person here, or you read the story of the guy right next to the description of the puffer vest that you couldn't really afford.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making that decision because and that I think is another lesson of content marketing is that if you do it well, you can command more money in your marketplace. Yeah, and I'll share examples of that too.
As you said that, the one thing that flashed in my head, Craig, was Elaine writing the descriptions.
Right.
Sorry, that's just how my brain works.
It's classic.
Yeah, it really is. How about you, Jenny? What is the one takeaway or a takeaway that you want people to walk out of your session with?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And really it comes down to, right, today's market, customers expect seamless, personalized experience at every touch point, right? We live in the Amazon world, right? We live in same day delivery world, right? We have instant gratification, right? And so again, taking that customer perspective, prioritizing customer experience in and of itself can help marketers differentiate their brands and build stronger relationships and ultimately drive loyalty, right? So that is really what it comes down to. And just as short and sweet and not trying to give too much away, right? But it really just leads to better business outcomes. You know, if you have good CX and hygiene practices, if you understand your customers intimately and kind of innovate on their behalf, right, you can see business outcomes like increased revenue, a more engaged workforce, you know, improved customer retention, all things that we strive for as industrial marketers, right? So really want to help people on that.
I love it.
Yeah, I think actually it's smaller organizations who are having a harder time kind of getting clarity with some of that stuff probably have an easier time seeing the difference that personalization can make than a company the Caterpillar size or Eaton size, because we're so big and we have so many disparate systems that we're trying to make sense of all the time. So I think that's a good lesson for people who think, well, I can't do it because I don't have Caterpillar budget, I don't have Eaton budget, I can't get that done. You can actually get it done maybe potentially easier because you're scaled down.
I would absolutely agree with that, right? You got the agility, the flexibility, and you can utilize tools, right? In your world's, you know, AI, right? Like, let's not forget about how, you know, critical that is. And especially as a kind of a small and medium sized organization, like, you know, learn those prompts, understand those, have it parse through your data, have it, you know, segment your audiences, do all that heavy lifting, and then go and validate with a real world customer, right? Because then it's only your best guess until you validate, right? So 1,000%.
Love it. Guys, we're going to have some fun as we wrap up here. I'm not seeing any questions. I don't even know where I would be looking. So, what is one trend or buzzword that you, in the industrial marketing world, that you think is completely overhyped right now?
Industrial marketing. I was just going to say marketing in general, unhinged.
Marketing in general. Let's do marketing in general.
Unhinged. I'm so tired of unhinged and it either not being used properly or, you know, it's what was the question? Sorry, I'm about ready to go on a diatribe and I don't want.
No, that's what I asked. What is one marketing trend or buzzword that's overhyped right now?
I think that's the one. I think that's the one, right?
Not necessarily a buzzword, but the idea that AI is going to steal jobs from marketers.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that if you talk to folks like Paul Reutzer, who's going to be a keynote speaker, he's the first one to say that this is a pivot move. This is the people who take advantage of AI are going to be in a better position than the people who don't. You know, I'm, you know, as a, you know, relative senior citizen compared to a lot of people who's going to be at the Industrial Marketing Summit, I embrace the idea of AI because hopefully it'll take care of some of those, you know, menial but necessary tasks that we deal with all day long. Where it takes, like you mentioned, Jenny, taking some of the guesswork out of data analytics. I think there's some really, really interesting things we're thinking about. But I come at from a writer standpoint, as an English major, a writer standpoint. I've yet to see AI that can write as well as a human any more than I can see an AI would cook me a meal, but it would taste good. So, you know, there's always going to be jobs for the people who manage the AI.
Absolutely. I interviewed a guy on another one of my shows a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, he's into AI, and I asked him, is AI truly going to take jobs? And he said, absolutely not. He said AI is just like when we brought computers into the workplace or when we brought CNC machines into machine shops. It's a tool. So while AI won't take jobs itself, the people who adopt AI will take jobs from people who don't. And I like that take because it makes it familiar to us, right? It takes us what some people are finding as a scary concept and saying, we've been through this. You remember when computers were introduced, or if you're younger, when iPhones were introduced, right? Those were tools that changed the game. AI is just another tool in the toolbox, I think. So I like that. I like that. Jenni, if you weren't in marketing, what is the career path that you wish that you had gone into?
I can't. That's a non-existent question because I've always envisioned myself getting. So, I mean, I guess if I had to say something along those lines, it would probably be like out in the middle of the woods, leading hikes and explorations for people. I just love to be outdoors and in nature and get that fresh air in my lungs.
I love it. And just like your namesake, Jeff Probst. Just kidding.
No relation, guys.
You like... Sorry, I had to throw that in. Craig, what about you? What career do you think you would have gotten into if marketing wasn't a deal for you?
So another part of my life that I'm very passionate about the proliferation of the trades. And had I known how much a plumber could make when I was 18 years old, I probably would have become a plumber, or electrician, or carpenter. I think that we're doing our entire country a disservice by not elevating the trades to a point where they're equal to a college education. And you will know that when you have to call a plumber in the middle of the night and what they charge you. And if you don't know how to fix your toilet,
absolutely,
you really recognize the value of some of the services they provide. So, but I also do capital.
My dad was a plumber.
Yeah, it's great. It's an amazing living.
No, awesome. I completely agree about that. I mean, when my dad was a plumber and a water main broke and sent him across the room and broke his ribs, right? I mean, like, this is like, these people are putting their lives literally in danger, right? And they don't get the recognition or the respect or even the pay grade that they deserve. So I'm right there with you, Craig.
Well, even closer to what you're doing, Jenni. I mean, when I was with the Caterpillar organization years ago, they said one of the things that was going to limit the amount of machines we can sell globally is the number of diesel mechanics we can have to fix the ones that are down.
Very, very astute. Absolutely.
So we need people to turn wrenches and do that sort of work. And we at Eaton need electricians. We couldn't do our jobs without electricians in the field installing our products.
I mean,
there's a very symbiotic relationship between manufacturing.
Every platform I'm on about how manufacturing skilled trades built the middle class and how that's yeah.
We would not be who we are without the skilled trades. 1,000%, I agree. And it's so funny. Part of my work before I came to Caterpillar was actually around kind of leveling the playing field for folks to get into college, and that was a big discussion about the importance of trades and why that is such a viable and real option. And to Craig's point, it is. The pay that goes with it was unknown, right? It was not being very well vocalized. It was like, actually, you can support your family, have a great living, not have to pay college debts down. So it's I agree. Trades are so important to everything that we do.
Yep. Jenni, we lost Craig, it looks like, but that's okay. You and I will muddle our way through here. So for anyone who's watching, you're in my first time at IMS, not your first time in Austin, not my first time in Austin. I love Austin, but you are from there. So Jenni, what's one place that I can't afford to not go to in Austin?
Oh, well, pick your point. You want food? You want music? You want
music? Any place I can walk. Welcome back, Craig. Any place I can walk down the street.
Yep.
And hear a different kind of live music coming out of each establishment is my like.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
It's heaven to me. Yeah.
Same,
so
same.
Is there an off the beaten path that we need to make sure we go to?
I wouldn't call it off the beaten path per se, but it's not on Dirty Sixth. It's off of Sixth. It's down on Red River. Okay. It's Mohawk. It was my old stomping grounds. Just great people, great music. Just a blast to get in, and the setup's really nice. It's outside. It's kind of tiered, so there's not a bad space in the house, and it's just a blast to hang out. So my 2 cents are for Mohawk.
All right. Mohawk it is. We will find a night to make it there, Craig.
No.
That's okay, man. you know, these lives or recordings, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
You never know. It eats up bandwidth. Craig, I was just saying to Jenny, this is our first one. What are you excited about?
So
Do you have
have been to
experience in Austin?
before. I used
If you
to
do,
go to the hand-built motorcycle show every year. So I used to be a big supporter
Oh,
of that. I actually met some very,
yeah.
very interesting and cool people on the hand-built motorcycle circuit. So that's obviously not going on at the same time, but I love Austin as a town. It's such a cool place. Um, what's the Rainy
yeah,
Street? I think is a place that I would send people. But maybe it's a little skews a little younger than I am, but I like to think of myself as a young person.
Rainy Street's good. You got
I
Emmer
like,
and Rye on Rainy Street. Shout out to Emmer and
yeah,
Rye. It's a great place to eat.
Right on.
That's serious. I
But
take
the
this
music
very
scene,
I love it.
seriously, you guys.
You do,
the music scene is
and
great
I'm
there. You
here
really
for
can't go
all of
wrong.
that.
Live music is fantastic there. I just came off of 4 days in Nashville, so I got a lot to compare it to. But we'll see. I'm excited.
Awesome. Craig, how can people connect
LinkedIn
with
is the
you
easiest
for
way.
the event? Okay, Jenny,
Same LinkedIn. Shout
let's
call
go.
her.
I love my LinkedIn. What haven't I asked you, Jenny, that you want to share with the audience?
Oh wow. I guess just, come by. Obviously the marketing summit, if you can't make it, get the digital pass. My session, you're just gonna really learn practical strategies to enhance your customer experience. You're gonna hear some success stories and you get to network with people, which again, to Craig's point earlier, is just kind of the most valuable part here, right? Really
Absolutely.
just that information sharing, best practice sharing, and getting some unique perspectives and understanding the challenges that we're all facing and how we can come together to kind of tackle those in our own unique ways.
She stole my
Love
answer.
it. Craig, what about you?
No,
What haven't I asked you that you want to share?
Thanks,
All
Jenny.
right.
No, I totally agree. I think
Ditto.
that these types of events, you will come away, if you do it right, you'll come away with people who are lifelong professional colleagues, lifelong friends, people that you can lean on when you want to bounce ideas off of. And don't forget, the speakers want you to engage with them. So don't put them on a pedestal, get them down, grab them in a hall. Grab them in a hallway and say, hey, let's talk, have lunch with people, and do all the stuff that you do when you're in person with people. Don't try and disconnect as much as you can, knowing that we all have jobs that we all have to do. That email will wait. If your company is investing time for you to be live someplace with human beings, then you invest that time with them.
Yeah, I love that. I spoke at FabTech a couple of years ago, and they gave me 90 minutes, which was a super long time. And it was all about employee retention strategies. And I got to my slide on how generationally people want recognition different, right? It's recognition, still recognition, but it looks different for people in different generations. And this was 15 minutes into my 90-minute presentation that I got to the side. One hand went up, then another, then another, then another. I made it through 15 minutes of my 90-minute presentation. I didn't make it through another slide. We just had, but to me, that was the best. I use that as like the gold star of my presentations. If I don't make it past or through all of my slides, then I did a good job because people want to interact, and I do a lot better when I talk with people than when I talk at people,
for sure.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're going to IMS and you're in my session, interrupt me all day long. And I think that goes for Jenny and Craig as well. Guys, this has been really cool. I don't know if we went live or not. I haven't monitored anything because I've been tuned into you guys. So if it's a recording, thanks for listening to the recording. If it's live, thanks for being here live with us. Jenny, Craig, this has been a really fun conversation with you both. I appreciate both of your stories, your input, and that sneak peek you gave us into what your sessions will look like at the Industrial Marketing Summit. Super excited to meet you both in person, and go to Mohawk and down to Rainy Street with you guys,
Let's
and
do it.
have some food and see some good music.
Let's do it.
For anybody who is out there, whether it's a recording or live, thanks for being here with us. If you enjoy stories about people's journeys in manufacturing, make sure to check out the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. If you're looking for your weekly leadership vitamin dose, check out my new podcast, Work But Make It Human, where we dive into concepts of leadership and the way it's always been done. And then we dive into a little bit of how we can approach leadership in a more human-centric manner surrounding that concept. So this week we're talking about recognition. Funny enough that I bring that up. So that'll be fun. It's really short. It's 10 minutes long, maybe 15 at the very longest. So it's just a small dose, but packed with details. You can find both shows wherever you listen to podcasts, or head to themfgconnector.com for all details, resources, all that kind of fun stuff. Jenni, Craig, again, thanks again for being here. Everyone watching, whether it's recorded or live, thanks for watching.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you in Austin. Come join us.
Yep.
It'll be a lot of fun.
See you in a few weeks. Bye, y'all.